Hi and welcome to NBA 2013 playoffs preview of round 1. I'll be previewing each of the games who I think is going to win the series. So it's a day now. This time tomorrow we'll be gearing up. We'll be actually just starting game 1 of New York Knicks against Boston Celtics in New York. That is 8 PM start here in the UK, 3 PM start Eastern time in America. So now we're starting 2nd seed versus 7th. So it's great that it started now. It's been a great season, enjoyable season, that's for sure. Miami Heat taking the overall top spot, taking a top spot of the Eastern Conference. OKC taking top spot of the West Conference, but I'm going to start in the East, keep it easier, with Miami Heat, Milwaukee Bucks. The first versus 8th, and probably for most fans has been the most clear-cut series of them all, except for Bucks fans obviously. Myself a bit of a Heat fan, so but it ended 3-1 this season in the series in the regular season. Miami losing one game, the rest of the games turned up the intensity in those other games. So obviously the key is Miami play sometimes in the season. You've seen it so many times. Obviously teams do it all the time. They don't play with the same playoff intensity all year round. And Miami definitely want to be guilty of that. But it's a thing that you do. You don't play with that kind of intensity every single game. And sometimes you play against a team that plays with that intensity. In the game that Miami lost, probably say Milwaukee came in with that perfect intensity into that game. So Miami are going to play through this with the high intensity. You may get a few games, maybe when they get to 3-0 up, say, that they would drop off their intensity. But the pick is, I'm thinking maybe going too much on the regular season that it's going to end 4-1. And Miami are going to win this in 5. But, I think the pick would be Miami play at that high intensity through every single game of the series, then they're going to win this, with the likes of LeBron, Wade, Bosh, need to go on talking about them and their qualities and the way they can turn it up on both sides of the court. Steals, turnovers, just something that can take away from teams all throughout the game. And then you got the other players coming in. Mike Miller, Shane Battier, Ray Allen off the bench. Then you got Chris Anderson, who's been absolutely immense since coming into Miami, and you got several others as well. Udonis Haslem obviously gets in a lot to the starting lineup now, and obviously can be crucial, especially playoff time. And against Shane Battier, without repeating that too many times, was so important last time in the playoffs for Miami. Obviously Milwaukee have their own quality, but point guard quality is something Milwaukee have more than anything. Brandon Jennings, Monta Ellis, you can't get much of a better combination in the NBA right now than that. For scoring and assisting, the quality is there. But do they have the quality in the bigs? Who do they have that's really going to keep up with LeBron on both ends of the court? It's going to be hard for them to do that. That's why Miami play with the intensity, playoff intensity through all 4 of the first games. I think Miami can do this series in 4 games quite easily. Again, that's no disrespect to Milwaukee. They can play with the same intensity, and they're a good team against steals, forcing turnovers themselves, as they did in the Miami game that they won. But you got to go with the favourites here with Miami, and say they'll do this in 4 games and go on take on to the next round. Obviously the key would be for Miami to get things done in the first 3 quarters. So I want to take into the 4th quarter, say like 10 plus, a double figure lead going into the 4th quarter, to give them then chance to rest the likes of LeBron, Wade, Bosh, etc, and their players, and rest them in certain minutes, not playing them as many minutes. When they're off the court, Miami, they have to use a lot more ball movement. They showed that at the end of the season, like the ball movement for Miami in the last like 2 weeks without LeBron, without Wade, was exceptional without Rio, and the ball movement was brilliant between Miller, Allen, Anderson. It was quite exceptional the way they just moved it about, and that's obviously going to be key when the big three are on the bench. It's very rare. Usually what the Miami do, if you notice, they always take off LeBron and Wade kind of the same time. Wade seems to sit out almost the whole second quarter. That's kind of a key feature of Spoelstra's role. Takes Wade off for the whole of the second quarter. Bosh usually does stay in generally when LeBron and Wade are off the court. But obviously then you've got players that say like Chris Anderson, who's improved his games brilliant this year with Miami, and what a pickup he's been. So yeah, I'm going to go with Miami in 4. I wouldn't be surprised though if Milwaukee send it to a 5th game back in Miami, but I think it'll go maximum 5 games here in the series, but I'm saying 4. I mean that's more realistic, so that's it. Miami in 4, I'm going for that. But anyway, it should be a good series, be a fast series, 2 teams that love to get up and down the court quickly. Which will make for an exciting 4 games. Let's see how far it goes. So now I'm going to move on now to a much more intriguing series. New York Knicks, Boston Celtics, but first game on, say over here, 8 PM. So do not miss that at all, that'll be a magnificent game. So, obviously Boston going in with, they're coming in 7th this year. Obviously not the same team they were last year. Not only guys like Garnett, who's been out for a while now. Garnett, Paul Pierce, a year older now than they were last year. Ray Allen obviously moving to Miami. Gonna miss him a lot. But Knicks are beatable. Ball movement is key against New York Knicks. Also that penetration, firing it out to 3-point shooters. That's also a key to Boston winning this. So they're going to need like to Jet, Jason Terry obviously, Avery Bradley, he's going to have to be on top game, and Paul Pierce. Both ends of the court is going to have to be absolutely magnificent. Obviously that's going to be key for Boston. They've got a good defense, always had good defense. And the last few games for New York, their defense has slowed up a little bit, conceding over 100, but offense has been absolutely immense as well. Like, what can I say about New York apart from Melo? Like, you've just got your man there. When you've got a star player like Melo, it just makes it so much easier. And you've got a player there, scoring champ obviously this year. Congratulations on that. But once again, one thing you're looking for is probably not so much on defensive end, but the way you can just go up the field and he's hot all game. That's one thing that's incredible about him. It doesn't take a few minutes to get into the game. He doesn't miss his first shots. Like, really the key that Boston want to do is keep Melo off the ball for as long as possible. Keep him away from being able to shoot the baskets for as long as possible in the game. Just try and keep it dragging on when he's not shooting shots. As soon as he starts doing that, he gets into a rhythm. They start getting on transition, New York, and they just carry it on that transition then. Quick pass to Melo, 1-on-1, he's going to shoot it, and he's scoring. It's just simple as that. Also, Chris Copeland has been amazing since coming in. Sensational, big man. Offers a lot more really than Chandler on the offensive end. Chandler, one of the best defenders in the league, that's for sure, but obviously on the offensive end, doesn't score that many points, gets a lot of rebounds. Copeland gets quite a few rebounds, but also gets lots of points. He can hit a 3-pointer, which for a centre is quite magnificent. How many 3-pointers he hits. And then you got J.R. Smith, Jason Kidd. J.R. Smith, come in. He's been absolutely amazing as well. Had a sensational season. Once again, he works in spurts. Does J.R. Smith? You can just give him the ball. So when Melo's off the court, JR comes in and kind of takes over the same role that Melo was playing. So this is going to be really tough as well for Boston, because you look at Nick's record. I think they're one of the best team I think in the league, the least turnovers average, and that's quite brilliant for why they've jumped from 7th place last year to 2nd place this year. Simple as that. And obviously Miami the big favourites, but as a Miami supporter, if there's anybody I'm worried about right now in the Eastern Conference, it's the New York Knicks. Beat us 3 times this year, and each time they've deserved it. Okay, the one time Miami didn't have LeBron or Wade on the court, or Rio, but they were exceptional there, and they were exceptional in the first 2 games in the season as well, where they dominated Miami. So that's going to be really tough. As a Boston Celtics, Boston have a thing of coming to life in the playoff season, in the playoffs. They really come to life, step up another gear, and that's why this is going to be the simplest of series for New York. So it's probably making it most intriguing, but there's usually that little difference in these type of games. In all these type of games, there's that difference, and that difference here is Melo. So the pick is, I think Boston will take 1. They might even take 2 games, but I think the fact is I'm going the New York Knicks to beat the Boston Celtics in 5 games. So that's what I'm saying. Say Boston win the 3rd game, but I think New York will then win the final 2. I say New York 4-1, I'm saying, to do it in 5. So that'll push them on to, so that would put them on to play the winner of Indiana Atlanta. Probably really one of the most competitive series this will be. I was looking forward actually to Indiana against Chicago Bulls, because the intensity of that series would have been incredible. But instead we got Indiana Pacers against Atlanta Hawks. Indiana 3rd seed, Atlanta 6th seed. That one starts in the early game, 1 o'clock Eastern Time America, 6 p.m. over here in the UK at Indiana on Sunday. And again, this is another intriguing one. It's always that 3rd versus 6. It's always an incredible game. So again, Indiana have a lot. They've got intensity, really good defense. Roy Hibbert's definitely got better in the second half of the series. Paul George has been exceptional all series. Hits, points, rebounds, assists, does everything you want from your power forward. And they've also got great players in West, Hill. They're going to add stuff too. Stevenson on the outside. Danny Green, slam dunks all day. Hits the 3-pointers as well. That's an exceptional player that everybody likes to have. Those kind of players. And that's what Indiana have. So they've got a lot in their arsenal. As for the Hawks, obviously the main men, Smith and Horford. Simple as, 2 powerful players, both great in the post. Horford, brilliant at layups. He's really good in the paint, to put it that way. And Josh Smith, always get confused with him, J.R. Smith. But Josh Smith anyway, great shooter, can hit 3-pointers, and again great in the post, and also really good on the break at Atlanta as well. They have that. And obviously Teague as well on the outside, just passing, brilliant passer of the ball. So it's going to be an interesting series. I think Indiana come in big favourites, and it'll make for a big great series with them in New York. That's the way it does go. So again, I think Indiana, great defense. They can stop the likes of Horford and Smith. Their best defense is in the paint. Atlanta's probably best offense can become in the paint. So that will make for an intriguing battle down low. But as I say, I'm going to go. It's going to be a tight series. 7-game series could actually happen in this series. This could be the one. But I'm going up from 4-0, 4-1. I'm going to go Indiana to win this game in 6. I'm going to say Indiana to win this 4-2 to the Pacers. As I think it'll be really hard fought series. One that leaves Indiana with a few bruises, a few batters. but I think just got that. Wouldn't say quality, but the way they play throughout the season got a little bit extra intensity, almost like Chicago, who we're going to be going on to next, that extra intensity. I think that presence of the guys like Paul George, Roy Hibbert in that team could really help. And then you got Hill and West. Those are two guys that can suddenly in one game become hot in one game. They don't do it every single game, like you'd say Paul George does, or on Atlanta, the likes of Smith does. But they are got two guys there that can come into a game and take over a game at their own will. Just come into a game, just one game, maybe two games in the series, where both of them have a big game, and that could be the winning game for Indiana Pacers. So I'm going to go with a bit of a back and forth series, some close games in there. But I'm going to go stick my neck on the line a bit and say Indiana in 6 games for that series to set up a matchup between themselves and the New York Knicks. So now moving on to the final game of the Eastern Conference playoffs between the Brooklyn Nets, 4th seed, what a season they've had. People expected them to be in the playoffs, but 4th place, I didn't expect that, to be honest. And then Chicago Bulls, 5th place, which is exceptional to think that their main player, their star player, Derrick Rose, has been out all season. So they've done exceptionally good as well. And Chicago, a massive fan of watching Chicago, because their intensity is amazing. It's absolutely horrible to watch them play a team. I've watched them about every time against the Heat this season, and it is horrifying to watch. I hate watching it because Chicago is so intense. Heinrich will take anything. He just balls in there, doesn't care for anything, will take the fouls that your team wants. He's exactly the kind of player you need in a playoff series. Nate Robinson, he has them little spells just on and off. He comes in and gets hot quickly and can't stop him at all. His intensity, the little guy, is incredible. Again, Boozer, Noah, almost a driving force and that intensity, and they just bring it to every single game for Chicago Bulls. So this is going to be an exceptional series. This is the one game where I think a lot of people are going to actually be favouring the away side, so going for the slight upset. But Brooklyn have a lot as well. Williams has come into his own at the end of the season. Struggled at the beginning, so did Joe Johnson. Wallace is a top performer as well. He's one of them kind of throwback players. Puts his body on the line. Would certainly match into Chicago. What I think has made Wallace a bit, he's obviously playing at Charlotte, down the bottom, scrapping for everything, and then moving to a team like Brooklyn, and he's kind of brought in that intensity he would have had at Charlotte Bobcats, and has really brought that in, throws his body at everything. And then Brook Lopez, almost equal star player with Williams. So they've got 3 really star players in there: Williams, Johnson, and Lopez. Lopez on the inside, slam dunks, layups. If you get him on the inside, it's hard to stop him. But obviously, it's not going to come easy for him. He's going to have Noah or Boozer, most likely Noah, on him, and that's going to be hard to really play against in the post. So that's going to make an intriguing matchup. Obviously, on the outside, Darren Williams. He's going to have. It's going to be quite. He's going to have to play them good balls. He's going to have to play the good passes. He's going to know I think on the outside and the guard positions, then Brooklyn has the edge. But on the inside, I think anybody would say that the Bulls have the edge on most teams when it comes to being on the inside. So on this one, I think this is the one. I've gone up, haven't I? I've gone from Heat in 4, Knicks in 5, Pacers in 6. So I'm going to say Chicago Bulls in 7. I think it's going to be a really close series. It's going to go down to the final game in Brooklyn. But I'm going to go for Chicago in 7. It's going to be a really back and forth series. I'm telling you, it's going to be back and forth. Brooklyn will probably win in Chicago. Chicago will probably win a couple of times in Brooklyn. But yeah, I'm going to say Chicago Bulls in 7. I mean, intensity will really take it out of Brooklyn. Brooklyn have the quality, but going into Chicago is just a different thing entirely. So yep, I'm going to go with Chicago Bulls to do that in 7. And I'm telling you now, I personally, no disrespect to Chicago, but I really hope my prediction is off there, because Chicago, Miami is not a series I'd look forward to as a Heat fan, because of Chicago bring that kind of intensity. They're just out of this world. So it's really going to come down to Miami if they bring that intensity as well. So that's it for the first round of the Eastern Conference. So once again, I'm going Miami to win it in 4, Knicks to win it in 5, Pacers to win it in 6, and the Bulls to win it in 7. So just going up makes it pretty easy, doesn't it, to follow? So you're going to get shorter, longer series. So Miami will be waiting a while if it goes by my predictions. So I'm going to take a break now. So get back onto the Twitter site, that's where you're listening through. And at Boxing Peter anyway, if you're not. And find me back on there, where I will be the NBA playoffs round 1 preview for the West Conference. So I'll get back on there. I'll stop this stream. Obviously you can listen. If you can't listen to me now, don't worry, I'm on YouTube as well at Boxing Peter again on YouTube, where you can listen to all of these these radio stations, whatever you want to call it, chats, whatever. And if you want, you can leave comments on there about it and what you think is going to happen in the playoffs. So I'll be back in a bit.